Actually, I was like, in fact, many of the actors in Katsina at the burial of the father of Shehu Musayiradwa. His father died. We all went to Katsina for the burial. And President Babangida was there. MKO Abiola was there. As I said, many of the actors were there. I was there. And we had seen off the president at the airport in Katsina. And we came back to Katsina Government House to have lunch. And it was there that the rumors started flying, that there was an announcement. There was no author, there was no authority cited. It was just that the elections had been stopped. My reaction was one of incredulity because President Babangida was with us at the burial ceremony, and he had just left. And clearly, the way he interacted with everybody did not indicate to me that he had foreknowledge of a decision that he might have taken before coming to Katsina. So I didn't believe it. MKO Abiola, I believe, had left town by that time. And I left thereafter. We came back only to confirm that actually, yes, the announcement of the results had been stopped and the elections had been put on hold. So it was quite frankly an ambush for which nobody was prepared. It took quite a while for everybody to first believe what they heard and now try to take stock of what are our next steps. So we were bewildered, we were incredulous, we were stunned because of the absolute impossibility of anybody trying to stop the elections at that point in time. When you remember we used the option A4 system, we all had the results from every polling unit. We had the collated results from all the local governments, from all the states. And we were just waiting. And INEC, or NEC as it was during Warsa's time, had started announcing the results, putting up the results on the board outside the NEC house headquarters. It was just the result of Taraba that was outstanding. So really, it was unstoppable ordinarily. And yet the unstoppable happened. So we were all shocked. Now, MKO Abiola, I remember, was still trying to work on his network of friends within the military, principally President Babangida, to try and convince them to reverse the decision. So that's fine. There was no problem if he could talk to them. But clearly, the military didn't take such a decision lightly. And clearly, also by that time, one was aware of the various camps that were interested in the annulment, all really for their personal ambitions, not really because they, as is said afterwards, that they were afraid of MKO or that MKO owed government so much and that if he became president, he would bankrupt the nation. All sorts of spurious and illogical arguments were put forward. But it was really a clash of ambition. We decided that we were going to fight the interim national government of Chief Ernest Shanako. And we mobilized and we made sure that government didn't last. It lasted, 82, 84 days, thereabouts. And it had to give way for various reasons. We now know that we were not the only ones undermining the interim national government, but the military themselves were undermining it. Um, so we all fought together and in our different ways to make sure that the interim national government didn't succeed. I understood that Chief Abiola had series of discussions with General Abacha, and he was given assurances about his mandate being returned to him. I certainly had my own efforts because I knew that with the military backing Chief Shanakon and with the waning of the resistance and the resolve of the people of Nigeria as a whole, the only weapon we could use was to set the military against themselves. So I was having discussions and with various groups and officers, and of course we were all naive. And clearly there were various groups jostling to topple the interim national government so that they take over the reins of power. And General Abacha and his group outmaneuvered all of them and outplayed we, the civilian political class, also. Because I went to see him once at his own request. And he told me, look, how could he help us in our struggle? I told him that, look, we wanted the military not to harass the demonstrators, not to kill them. And if he personally wanted to help us, he could provide us logistic support, especially to the Nupeng, the oil sector trade union that were effectively crippling the economy. He asked how he could. So I brought Chief Frank Kokori, the Secretary General of the Nupeng, who was at that point also the National Financial Secretary of the SDP. I brought him over to Abacha. They met. And Abacha decided to provide all the funds they needed to pay the striking workers and to fund the logistic requirements of Nupeng. Clearly, Abacha wanted the interim national government to be weakened so that he could strike for his own ends. But the impression given to us was so that he could assist us to reclaim our mandate. Now, Chief MKO Abiola never really told me the details of their discussions. But from what I've gathered, that is the kind of impression that he was given. So he was very enthusiastic. He welcomed the coup of General Abacha. If you remember, he went to congratulate him. And one of the difficulties I had in managing things at that point in time is that I remember I had given Bola Tinubu an appointment to see me in the house. And he then phoned to say MKO Abiola had just asked him to come over. Could we put the appointment for a later time? I said, fine. It was only then later to see on the television screen that MKO Abiola had asked Bola Tinubu to come and accompany him to see and congratulate General Abacha. MKO Abiola never discussed with me, never told me whether it was a good idea to do that. He had several meetings with the British ambassador, the American ambassador, the British High Commissioner, the American ambassador, and others. Really, he never discussed the content of this conversation. So I wasn't clear. But the broad outline one got was that he too, like everybody else, was outmaneuvered by General Abacha. On his part, I don't know. On my part, no, there was never a break in trust per se. We just had different views at some point, different strategies, different approaches, but breaching trust, no. Even when I was in government and he was traveling or whatever that needed some foreign office input, I would make the arrangements for him to be received by our ambassadors. And when he returned, for him to come back to the presidential lounge with all the protocol and so on, I extended to him all the courtesies due. I maintained excellent relationship with his family. Those who knew what was happening, not these latter-day June 12ers who were never there when June 12th was being made over the years, and who just jumped on the bandwagon after the annulment, and they became the apostles and custodians of the mandate. No, there was no breach of trust between me and Chief Abiola from my side. I had always admired him. I always admired his doggedness. I always admired his principle and his articulation. Maybe his methods were naive. Clearly, it was brought out that the support base for the mandate progressively eroded. Many mistakes we made. Of course, misreading the transition program, misreading the dynamics of the military, especially those with their own ambitions to be president and so on. Misreading, not foreseeing the annulment, and that the annulment having taken place. Chief Abiola, in particular, believing that he could persuade General Babangida to reverse, welcoming General Abacha, taking him at face value when he says short tenure and there'll be a return to democracy and so on. Many mistakes. His flight to abandon, basically, the struggle just because he was misled by the security agencies. His reliance on personal structures rather than the party structures, and so on. In my case, I guess because I had my own views, I had my own take. I didn't just put them aside and say, okay, I'll follow whatever Chief Abiola said or did, right or wrong, I believe or I didn't. I didn't adopt that attitude. Poof, I don't know what difference I would have made if I did. What difference it would have made to the outcome. We made many strategic, tactical, and judgmental mistakes. Far too numerous to enumerate. We are human beings. Unfortunately, as he was about to die, I was in my house. In fact, I received his wives, Doyne and BC, and his daughter, they were visiting me because I had arranged, because I'd been working all along, for them to have access to Chief Abiola. And finally, General Abdusalami Abubakar called me and said, okay, you have it your way. Let them come and see him. So they had come spend the night in my house. And they were going to go back to Lagos. They had seen him the previous night. And they had very long conversations, and they were all happy. And they were going back to Lagos when General Abdusalam Abubakar phoned me to say, where was I? I was at home. Come. So I went. By then, I was not in government. I was a private person. And he told me that Chief Abiola had been taken to the clinic in a bad shape. So I called my house and told my wife to stop the wives and the daughter going back. I'll get back to them. So I went to the State House Clinic, and he was taking his last breath. So I then went back to the house and told the family to follow me to the head of state. Meanwhile, I had told General Abdusalam Abubakar that he should tell them himself what happened. So he left the office, went to the house, and I went with the family, and they broke the news to them. Anyway, that was the last time I saw